Hello friends, welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic for all Christians, the 6 most serious sins in the Bible that we must avoid. Often when we read the Bible, we think it's just old stories, but the truth is, the Bible is much more than that. It is a guide to the moral and spiritual life that can help us grow in our relationship with God and experience the peace and joy that only He can give us. Over the centuries, the Bible has been a guide to the moral and spiritual lives of many Christians. It teaches us what is right and what is wrong, and gives us guidance on how to live according to God's will. Avoiding these sins can be difficult, but the payoff is great. When we live according to God's will, we can experience a full and meaningful life. Our goal in this video is to provide practical guidance on how to avoid these sins and live according to God's will. We'll explore each of these sins in detail and offer practical tips for avoiding them. We hope you like it and that this video can help you grow spiritually and become more aware of your behavior towards God and others. But before we start, we would like to ask everyone to subscribe to our channel so that you can receive notifications whenever we publish new content. Also, like the video and share it with your friends and family who might benefit from these reflections. Thanks for being a part of our community and helping us reach more people with the gospel message. Let's start with the first sin, idolatry. Idolatry is defined as the worship of something or someone other than God. In the Bible, we find references to this sin in different moments and verses, as in Exodus 20 verses 3 to 6, where God instructs His people not to have other gods besides Him. Idolatry can take many forms, from the worship of physical idols to the pursuit of riches, fame, and success. When we put something or someone in the place of God, we lose sight of what is really important in our lives and become prisoners of our own ambitions and desires. By engaging in idolatry, we distance ourselves from God and lose the ability to experience the true joy and peace that only He can give us. Instead, we get caught up in an empty, fleeting pursuit of things that can never fully satisfy us. So it's important to recognize when we're falling into the trap of idolatry and look to God to help us put Him back at the center of our lives. He is the only one worthy of worship and the only one capable of fulfilling us completely. By avoiding idolatry, we can experience the freedom and fulfillment that only He can offer us. The second sin we are going to address is sexual immorality. The Bible defines sexual immorality as any sexual behavior that is not up to God's standards. This includes adultery, fornication, homosexuality, pornography, and other practices that violate God's plan for sex and sexuality. The biblical reference to this sin can be found in 1 Corinthians 6 verses 18 to 20, where Paul exhorts Christians to turn away from sexual immorality and to honor their bodies as temples of the Holy Spirit. Sexual immorality can harm us in many ways, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Furthermore, it can affect our relationships with others and with God. Sexual immorality can cause feelings of guilt, shame, and regret, as well as sexually transmitted diseases and unwanted pregnancies. By engaging in sexual immorality, we also risk losing intimacy and fellowship with God. This is because sexual immorality is a sin against our own bodies and against God, who created sex to be an expression of love and intimacy within marriage. Therefore, we should seek to live up to God's standards for sexuality and honor our bodies as temples of the Holy Spirit. Not only does this help us maintain our emotional, physical, and spiritual health, but it also allows us to experience true intimacy and fellowship with God and others. In addition, lying can also lead us to lose credibility with others and ourselves. When we lie, we are not acting according to the truth that God expects from us, which can lead us to distance ourselves from His presence. Lying is a sin that often starts small and can become a harmful habit that is difficult to break. Therefore, it is important to avoid lying and seek the truth in all areas of our lives. Envy can generate constant dissatisfaction in our lives and lead us to an endless cycle of comparisons and unfulfilled desires. Furthermore, envy can lead to feelings of resentment and anger toward others, which can alienate us from God and damage our relationships. It's important to recognize the blessings we have in our lives and be grateful to God for them, rather than focusing on the things we don't have. Gratitude is a powerful way to draw closer to God and to find peace and contentment in our lives. The fifth most serious sin we must avoid is pride. The Bible defines pride as arrogance and overconfidence. In Proverbs 16 verse 18 we read that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride can lead us to think that we are better than others, to disobey God, and to have difficulty recognizing our mistakes and shortcomings. This can damage our relationships with others and with God, and it can keep us from growing and learning from our experiences. Therefore, it is important to cultivate humility and recognize that we are all fallible and that we need each other to grow and prosper. When we recognize our dependence on God and others, we can learn to work as a team, appreciate the contributions of others, and grow together in harmony. Sixth sin, hypocrisy. Definition of hypocrisy as the appearance of being something that is not true. Biblical reference, Matthew 23 verses 27 to 28. In addition to the 5 sins mentioned earlier, the Bible also warns us about the danger of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the attitude of pretending to be something that is not true, such as hiding behind a mask to impress others or trying to hide your weaknesses and flaws. The biblical reference that warns us about hypocrisy is Matthew 23 verses 27 to 28, where Jesus rebukes the religious leaders of the time who presented themselves as righteous and holy, but in their hearts they were full of hypocrisy and injustice. Hypocrisy can lead us to arrogantly and dishonestly judge others without regard to our own shortcomings and limitations. Furthermore, hypocrisy can lead us to disobey God's commandments, acting contrary to our faith and values. In summary, the Bible presents us with 6 serious sins that we must avoid in our lives. Idolatry, sexual immorality, lying, envy, pride, and hypocrisy can distance us from God, harm our relationships, and lead us to disobey His commandments. However, when we choose to follow God's ways and avoid these sins, we can experience the peace and joy He offers us. We must remember that the Bible is not just a collection of stories, but a guide to the moral and spiritual life. If we strive to live up to its teachings, we can grow in wisdom and grace and be a light to the world around us. Finally, I would like to remind you that if you like this content and want to go deeper into biblical teachings, be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to receive more content like this.